Hey there, everybody. I'm Mike Delisio.
And I'm Chris Yee.
And today we're going to be taking a look at Ghost Lift from a designer that goes by the name of One Gear and the artist, well-known Japanese artist Sai Beppu. This is a shedding game where you're trying to get rid of all the cards in your hand. And the theme is a haunted elevator. Chris, if I had a nickel for every time I tried to walk into a haunted elevator and then thought better of it, I'd be rich.
You have also walked into an elevator that was actively a waterfall.
This is true. I actually walked into an elevator that water was coming from the ceiling. Why did I choose to do that? I never said I was smart.
But I'm gonna assume that you're the expert then on this subject.
I am. I live to tell about it. Let's head over to the table and I'll show you how this game plays. Okay, here you see the components for Ghost Lift. You have cards in these values from 1 to 10. There are 6 of each of those, so 60 cards. Some of the cards you'll see have arrows pointing up and arrows pointing down. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We also have 60 of these ghost tokens with the same values from 1 to 10. These are double-sided. They're wooden screen-printed meeples. And you can see on one side they're white, and on the other side they are green. And then finally, we have an indicator dial that shows either down or up. And again, we'll talk about how that works once we get to the gameplay. So let's get there right now. In this overview, I'm going to be covering the standard rules for 3 to 6 players. There is a variant for 2 players, and there's a simplified version, but I'm going to cover the basic rules in this game. At the beginning, everyone's going to be dealt a hand of 6 cards, and then there's going to be the cards that are left over that are the deck. You're going to start off with a center card, which you'll just draw from the top of the deck. For only this time, you're going to ignore the arrows that are on the card. And at the beginning, if there's a number from 1 to 5, we put the needle towards up. And if there's a number from 6 to 10, we put it down. Well, this one actually does show the down arrow, but whether it did or not, we would do this at the start of the game. Then we're going to have what's called a revealed row, where we're going to reveal cards until we have 3 different values out here on a row. If you have cards of the same number, they would just be placed together, and you would keep going. Well, in this case, we don't. We have 3 different values, a 3, a 6, and an 8. And so we're all set up to take our first turn. Once a start player has been determined, they will have the first go, and you will go clockwise until someone runs out of all the cards in their hand. This is a shedding game where your goal is to get rid of all the cards in your hand before anybody else. Let's say it's this player's first turn. What they're going to do is they are going to be looking at how many cards are in the center, and they're going to have to play that many cards or one more to be able to play cards. They also have the option to pass. So on your turn, you will have the option to play cards or pass. Even if you have cards that you can play, you're not forced to play them, you can still choose to pass. So, looking at this first player, they have a 10. The arrow is on the down, so you can play any cards with a value lower than 10. You could play 1 card or 2 cards, just keeping in mind that the value has to be less than 10. So looking at their hand here, they've got a couple of options. You do want to get rid of cards, so maybe what they're going to try to do is play more than 1 card. The only one that they can do is these 2 4s, because again, you could play 1 more than the number that are in there. So in this case, let's say this player go ahead and takes that card out of the center and plays out 2 4s because it was lower than 10. This card has a down arrow. It's already pointing to down. If it had an up arrow, you would move it to up. So as this is the same direction it was facing, you don't have to worry about it. Let's say we go to the next player, they look at their hand of cards, and now they have to play lower than a 4, at least 2 cards. They cannot do that. They don't have that option. They only have 1 card that's lower than a 4, and that's a 3. So what they're going to do is pass. When you pass, you have the option, it is not compulsory, to choose any value in the revealed row. If there are multiple of that same value, you would take all the cards. So maybe they decide, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pass, and I'm going to take this 3, and then you would reveal the next card. That is the same value, so it would go there, and now you'd have that 10 over there. That would be that player's turn. Coming to the next player, it would work the same way. They still have to play lower than 4, and they have to play at least 2. They could play up to 3 if they had the cards to play them. Notice that they have 2 4s here. You could not play the same value. It has to be lower. So they're in a situation where they're going to pass as well. They're going to choose not to take any cards. Okay, so the player that played the 2 fours, the other players around the table had passed. So that means that these cards are going to be removed from the center, and then the next player can play as many cards as they want to from their hand. But in this case, maybe they decide, all right, well, I'm just going to go ahead and play this 3, and now I would move the arrow to the up. Play is going to continue like this until one player runs out of their hands, or runs out of cards from their hands. Once they do that, all other players are going to look at the cards that are remaining in their hand, and they're going to take penalty points based upon those cards. So let me we'll say that no one had played any other cards. It would be a pretty nasty situation. But you look at these cards. Okay, this is another player that did not go out. Every value that's in their hand, they're going to take an associated ghost and put it in front of them. So if you have multiples of the same value, that doesn't really hurt you because even though there are 4 10s here, you're only going to ever take 1 for each value. So this player would take a white 10 ghost, they would take a white 3 ghost, and they would take a white 7 ghost. These would stay face up in front of them. Later, if they have any of these values in a later round that are left in their hand, they would flip it over to the haunted side. One of the ways that the game can end is if one player has already a ghost on their haunted side and then they take another card of that value and have it in their hand at the end of a round. That would be one way it can go out. The game can end. The other way a game can end would be if you have 3 different values that have been haunted. That would also trigger the end of the game. Regardless of how it ends, that player is going to be the loser and all other players will be winners. Unless another player also loses, has a losing condition during the same round, and then there is a series of tiebreakers you can use to say who's the biggest loser, but you'll always just have the winner being whoever did not cause that end game condition. That's the basics to the game. As I said, there's a simplified version for 3 to 6 players. There's a 2-player variant, but I'm not going to get into that in this overview. Let's head back up to the table and let you know what we think. I'm not proud of myself, Chris. I really did walk into the wet elevator. I was not smart. I really probably should have had more repercussions.
No, you shouldn't have had more repercussions. The hotel should have.
That's a fair point. Anyway, on to the game. Well, this is, as I mentioned in the overview, it's a shedding game. And there have been so many of these types of games. You can talk about Uno if you want to, as maybe one that is the most familiar to most people, where the goal of the game is to get rid of all the cards in your hands before everybody else. And how this does this is relatively simple. Like these types of games kind of have some usually hallmarks, right? Where what you play is dependent upon what someone else has played before you. Right. And so this kind of keeps that. I suppose the things that make this somewhat unique is the idea of the up and down, kind of that elevator kind of mechanic thematically, where certain cards are going to have up or down arrows on them. And so that can kind of add some interesting elements to a pretty familiar system.
I think it's good because it leans into the haunted lift, the haunted elevator. You know, I'm going down to the first floor. You get down to the second. It goes, no, actually, you're going back up to 10 really quick.
Yeah.
So I find that fun that people can do that little change of direction. You go, oh, not what I wanted to happen, right? Mm-hmm. And that also ties in just fine. It's not what I would call a thematic experience, but it's a good pick to go with this idea. Oh, I'm going to play this card that changed the direction. Oh, I wasn't hoping for that yet,
Yeah, and it also has something that I have seen in plenty of other shedding games, but not in all of them, where when you pass, and that's always an optional thing, I did mention that in the overview, even if you could play cards, you could choose to pass. When you pass, you always have the option to take whatever cards are in the revealed row, and you're choosing one value and taking all the cards of that value. And it seems counterintuitive, I think, to people a lot of times at first when they haven't played a lot of shedding games where the goal is to get rid of cards, to choose to bring cards into your hand. But that could be a very strategic play in this game.
It's very strong because, being able to play 4 of a kind out, having a bunch of cards of the same number can be really, really powerful and really useful. But it's interesting because it is also telling.
Yeah.
And I think that's nice. It shares a little bit of information. Oh, Chris drew a 7.
Yeah.
He must have a 7. So if we can kind of play keep away from the direction of keep it 8 or higher or 6 or below, so I got a more powerful hand, but I also shared something. Because you pretty much will never grab a unique value to your hand in this game. You shouldn't, I think.
I think if you were able to play runs where you have consecutive numbers, maybe you would do that. But this is simply 2 of a kind, 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind.
Yeah.
And so, I agree with you. One thing that does feel slightly unique, also in addition to the up and down aspect of it, and there may be other games that do this, and maybe if you remember any, you can tell me, but the idea that you are restricted to how many you can play, right? You can always play, you have to play at least the number that were played before you, and you can play one more than that as long as you're going in the correct direction value-wise. But when the area is empty, the center cards are empty, when other players have passed and it comes back to you, you can dump out as many cards as you can. And so that's why you might stockpile 4 8s, is because you know that you've got 4 8s and a 4. And if I could play that 4 that no one else can play on top of, which might not be that hard, but you get the idea, then if it comes back to me, boom, I drop all 4 of the 8s and I'm out. I don't know of another game that does that offhand.
And remind me if I'm mixing it with another game, but that restricts it to only when you can shed out.
Correct.
When you can only drop 4 of a, you have to play 1 at a time. Otherwise, and I think that creates some nice drama. Someone's holding 3 cards, and they went out, and everyone goes, "Oh, only 1."
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you mean when you go into the center? That's a very good point. Yes, is that you can only dump those if that allows you to go out. Right?
Yeah,
but I don't. I can't think of another game exactly that does that. There may be another one out there, and maybe you'll let us know in the comments if there are.
There's some games like Sashi's 1 AM Jailbreak where the amount you can't go from 2 of a kind to 5 of a kind.
Right,
and I like that because you can have a handful of 7s, but you still have to be strategic, right? Having 5 7s isn't like this combo-breaking game.
Right, for sure. Like many of these types of games, there's not a whole lot of theme in what you're doing. I mean, they inject a little bit of it by having the up and down and having that tied into a haunted elevator, and that's cute. But really, where the theme, I think, shines is in the art and in the little ghosts, which are adorable. They probably aren't necessary to have them be dual-sided, screen-printed wooden meeples, but I'm glad that they're there because they are adorable and they are a nice little tactile thing that you have in front of you. But man, I love the aesthetic of this game, and you saw the cards in the overview. I think Sai Beppu did just a tremendous job of evoking a particular kind of almost Tim Burton-esque feel to it, I think.
Edward Gorey.
Edward
Tim
Gorey is
Burton.
probably a better example. Yeah.
No, and it's cool because this is very. This shows her as an artist having a lot of range.
Yes.
She's done a lot of things like All Plays Rainbow.
Yes.
Cutesy kind of things. And this is straight up that kind of gothic horror.
Yeah.
And it's really nicely done.
Yeah, with still a little bit of whimsy in there as well, as you would expect. Like those ghosts, I'm sorry, there's nothing scary about those ghosts. They're adorable.
Those ghosts could haunt me.
Exactly.
Fine with that.
All right, so, I mean, a nice production. I would say that this is on the simpler end of shedding games. There's not a whole lot of rules to get in the way, and so that's a positive. On the negative side, slightly negative side, is that I don't feel like it is the most innovative of shedding games. I feel like it sticks pretty close to some of the standards formulas, and that is going to impact my final score. I am recommending the game. I'm going to be giving it a 7 out of 10. I think I might have gone a little bit higher if there were maybe one more little twist, one more little thing that made it stand out from other shedding games, but everything it does, I like. And it does have that one unique element, at least unique to me, of being able to go out with a bunch of cards if that's if that condition applies. So I like that. Think the production is wonderful, and it's a very easy game to teach. There's actually simplified rules in here that make it even more basic, but I think the basic game is pretty basic enough. So 7 out of 10 for me.
And for me, it's just a scooch higher. It's a 7.5. I think it's clever. I think it doesn't outstay its welcome. It just does a lot of things quite right without necessarily being the most innovative. With, yes, being lucky. Your initial hand of cards you might look at and go, well, this is a much better hand of cards than other times.
Yeah.
But I think it's not too beholden to the luck by its scoring system.
Right.
There's only one loser at the end of the game, which is kind of a funny touch.
There can be two, but usually there's only one.
A good point. Yeah. But if someone gets the same number flipped over 3 times, or if 3 separate numbers. And so what happened last time we played, I thought this is kind of a funny anecdote, is that someone at the table went out, I won't name names, and the other 2 of us were like, oh, guess we both win. I had a bunch more ghosts, because I had got a few more times.
Yeah.
I said, so who wins? The person who got the least ghosts or the most, wins. And I think it's open for that little conversation.
Yeah.
But by the rules, only one person loses, or when someone triggers a loss, they're lost, and everyone else wins.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, I think it's funny and it fits this game.
Yeah, and that's true. The scoring is unique, too. That element of it is unique because, you can have 3 7s, and it's not as devastating as it might be otherwise because it's only going to count towards one of those. You only get 1 7, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us. That is Ghost Lift and Seal of Approval. I wanted to say Seal of Recommendation. There is no such thing. I'm going to start a new seal.
I'm going to start a new elevator.
Yeah.
Fill it with lots of water and ghosts.
Seal of Otis. That's the elevator guy. All right. Until next time, I'm Mike DeLisio.
I'm Chris Yee.
And don't go into a raining elevator. Trust me.
Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.